Confused about what yarn to use? You're in the right place. I've compiled a list of some bonus tips at the end so that you don't make the same mistakes that I made as a beginner crocheter. Let's go into the fibers from plants like cotton, hemp, flax, bamboo, etc. are used here. The second one is animal based. Here, wool from animals like sheep, alpacas, yaks, even silkworms are used to make the yarn fibers. The next type is synthetic. Here, man made fibers such as acrylics, plastics are used to make yarn here. This is very easily available, it is available in a lot of colors. We also have blended yarns, which is a mix of natural fibers and synthetic fibers, making it the best of the both worlds. The ratio in which these two are combined depends on the manufacturer. The thickness of the yarn determines the weight of the yarn. So the thicker the yarn, the heavier the weight, the bigger the number. This is not to be confused with the word ply. The word ply means the number of strands twisted together to make the yarn. Most of the times the ply does not determine the thickness of the yarn. You can have a thick 2-ply yarn too. According to the Craft Yarn Council, yarn is divided into 8 categories. The first one is weight zero or lace. It is also called 10 count crochet thread. This is used to make intricate crochet items like lace doilies, lace shawls. The next weight is weight 1 or superfine. It is also called fingering yarn or sock yarn or baby yarn. Here the word fingering means very thin yarn but which is durable enough to be worn every single day. So we use this yarn to make everyday items like socks, mittens, scarves, and also for making baby clothes. The next weight is weight 1 or fine. This is also called sport yarn or baby yarn, and it is, you guessed it, used for making baby clothes because the yarn is very thin and it can be very breathable, and when you're using the correct yarn, it can be very warm too. The next one is weight 3. It is also called light yarn. This includes the type DK or double knit and light worsted. This is one of the popular types of yarn which is used. It can be used for making many things like lightweight sweaters, hats, and for making baby clothes. The next one is weight 4 or medium yarn. This is one of the most popular yarn types. It includes worsted, Afghan, and Aran type of yarn. Did you know the name worsted comes from the type of spinning used to spin the yarn? So here the yarn is actually combed before it's spun, making it smooth and durable, hence the name worsted. This yarn is available everywhere. It is right in between lightweight yarns and the bulky weight yarns. So it is one of the most popular yarns. It is very beginner friendly. You can clearly see the stitches. So if you're a beginner, I'd say eye these yarns. It is used for making sweaters, hats, and even blankets. The next one is weight 5 or bulky weight yarn. It includes chunky, craft and rug type yarns, and you guessed it, it is used for making chunky hats, sweaters, and it is very nice for making blankets, and it is also very beginner friendly because you can clearly see the stitches. The next is weight 6 or super bulky, and it is thicker than the bulky ones, and it is used for making blankets. The last type is weight 8 or jumbo. Sorry, weight 7 or jumbo. This is used for making very cozy blankets. Now let's talk about what to use as a beginner crocheter living in India following US patterns. I definitely found it difficult to find the correct yarns here. So it is important to know what yarn to use and also how to substitute the yarn when you don't find what the pattern demands. It is very important to understand the different weights of the yarn and understand the different properties of each yarn before you learn how to crochet, so that it becomes very easy to identify the type of the yarn and also to mix and match. You can follow a pattern using your own favorite yarn instead of using the one from the pattern. Crocheters can use weight 3 light, weight 4 medium and weight 5 bulky yarns because this is available everywhere in tons of colors. Yarn. Let's start with natural fibers. The advantages of using plant-based natural fibers are that it is vegan, it is organic, it is sustainable, and now it is readily available everywhere in different colors. But the disadvantage is that it can be quite expensive and it can shrink because, of course, it is cotton and it's going to shrink when you're washing it, and sometimes the stitches might lose its shape after wash. The advantages of using animal-based fibers are that they can be very warm and cozy and you will feel very comfortable using this in the colder months. But there's a huge disadvantage to using wool because it can sometimes become very itchy and you might be allergic to some animals. Sorry. It can also attract moths and you have to be very careful where you're storing it. If you're going to use a pure wool, I'd suggest make a swatch and test it against your skin to see if you are having any reaction. If you don't, then go ahead and make that warm and cozy sweater you're eyeing. The advantage of synthetic fibers is that it is available everywhere. There are tons of colors. It is very beginner friendly. But the huge disadvantage here is acrylics are mostly synthetic fibers have a lot of plastics in them. So you have to be very careful when you are making crochet items like hot pads, coasters. You don't want your coaster to melt when you put a warm mug of coffee on it. A quick recap about everything that we discussed here. There are eight categories according to the Craft Yarn Council to divide the weight. The thickness of the yarn determines the weight. It is very different from ply, which means number of strands twisted to make a yarn. The eight categories are weight 0 lace, weight 1 superfine, weight 2 fine, weight 3 light, weight 4 medium, weight 5 bulky, weight 6 super bulky and weight 7 jumbo. The thicker the yarn, the heavier the weight. The best yarns for beginners are lightweight, medium weight and bulky yarns because here you can see the stitch very clearly. It'll be easy for you to count the number of stitches. You can see your work and you can easily maintain the tension. When selecting what yarn to use, first think about what project you're going to make and what season you're going to be wearing it. If you're going to be wearing it during summer, it is better to use cotton in a lightweight so that it feels very airy and breathable when you are wearing it. But if you want something very warm and cozy for the winter months, make sure that you are using a blend of wool and acrylics in chunky or worsted yarn so that you feel very warm and cozy. Bulky, super bulky and jumbo yarns are generally very good for making blankets because you can quickly work the blanket up and you can clearly see the stitches as a beginner and it will keep you very warm. If you want to count the number of times I'm saying warm in this video, I'm not going to stop you. If you're going to be making decor items and accessories, you can make sure to use an acrylic yarn because it is very vibrant and there are many colors here. Make sure that you are using a stiffer yarn so that your decor will keep its shape. Bonus tip number 1. As a beginner, don't go crazy. I know when you walk into a yarn store, you feel that you need to buy everything because everything looks so pretty and beautiful, but buy the cheapest yarn that is available. You don't know if you're going to like crocheting or if you will continue to crochet, so buy what's cheap, practice, and if you like it, then go for the expensive ones. Bonus tip number 2. If you have a project in mind and you're going to buy yarn, make sure that you buy enough yarn because the yarn is dyed in different batches, and if you buy too little and you have to go to the shop again to buy more, and if it is from another batch lot, the colors are not going to match even if you're holding it in your hand and you think, oh, this seems to be the same color. Trust me, when you are crocheting it, the color will differ. You don't want to learn it in a hard way like I did with this project. Bonus tip number 3. Don't buy the yarn with all those fancy frills and spikes and the cute variegated yarns as a beginner, because I would even add velvet yarn here because don't come at me, because you can't really see the stitch clearly and it is very difficult to count the number of stitches. You will definitely not see the stitches and it is a struggle. So leave it for when you become a little bit advanced and when you are really in love with crocheting, so that you don't feel like giving up. Bonus tip number 4 is it is important to know your yarn. I know this whole video was made so that you know your yarn, and I'm telling you, make sure you know your yarn, because knowing that every bulky yarn is going to be the same size or roughly the same size is going to help you rush to the shop every single time you see a cute pattern and you don't have that exact yarn. Also, make sure to make a swatch so that your gauge is matching with the pattern's gauge. You don't want to make a whole item and then find out that your sweater is too small for you and it is not going to fit you. But when you are making items like blankets or even hats, the sizing can be a little bit wonky because a too huge blanket is only going to make you feel warmer, and a too tall hat is just going to become a slouchy hat. Make sure to keep all these tips in mind before you buy your yarn. Watch my next video of all about crochet hooks so that you can buy both your hooks and your yarn together. Did you know the name worsted comes from the next weight?